We are monitoring incoming borders are Tom Homan's trip to our southern border. He's set to visit Eagle Pass, Texas, with Governor Greg Abbott as the Trump administration prepares to take major action on the border on day one. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here is my co-host, Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Dagan McDowell, Fox Business anchor and co-host of The Bottom Line. Leslie Marshall, Fox News contributor, and Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News senior medical analyst and professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health. Well, here is where we begin. President-elect Trump's warning to Canada and Mexico over the border crisis. He's threatening to enact heavy tariffs on day one if they do not take action to stop the flow of illegal immigrants and illicit fentanyl flooding into our country. Trump said this, quote, "On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States, and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country." Wow, quite a threat. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum was asked about Trump's threat this morning and warned that tariffs would cause inflation and job losses in both countries. Meanwhile, it's being reported that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called Trump just 2 hours after the tariff announcement, with Canada's official response signaling that they are ready to get with the program. Both Canada and the United States have one of the strongest and closest relationships, particularly when it comes to trade and border security. Canada places the highest priority on border security and the integrity of our shared border. So here's where I want to begin with a story, and it's a story about the art of a deal. And what I think the media misses here is what President Trump has done, quite brilliantly, I would say, is issue the opening salvo to a very heavy-handed negotiation. Now, we've seen this before. We saw this in 2019. So let's walk back to that moment in history. This happened on May 30th of 2019. This was an official White House statement. Starting on June 10th, 2019, the United States will impose a 5% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico if the illegal migration crisis is alleviated through effective actions taken by Mexico to be determined in our sole discretion and judgment. The tariffs will be removed. Okay, so that's May 30th. Well, watch what happens. Just like magic, June 7th, so about 2 weeks later, this happens. This is President Trump's tweet at the time. "I am pleased to inform you that the United States of America has reached a signed agreement with Mexico. The tariffs scheduled to be implemented by the U.S. on Monday against Mexico are hereby indefinitely suspended. Mexico, in turn, has agreed to take measures to stem the tide of migration through Mexico." Mexico actually sent 6,000 troops to their northern border. The tariff threat, Dagan, worked.
Absolutely. And it seems pretty easy, if you're Canada and Mexico, to not have tariffs slapped on you. You close the border to human and drug trafficking. You stop illegal migrants from pouring into the United States of America, and you stop indirectly killing Americans with fentanyl. Easy. And President Trump has given Mexico and Canada, our neighbors, a 2-month warning, which is quite generous. So stop the flow of migrants and fentanyl across our borders, and you will experience no tariffs. But I think the bigger story is that it takes a threat like this to get them to do this. And what kind of neighbor are you that you have allowed this to happen over the last 4 years just because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their brethren of open borders have allowed it? I think that, and the way that it's been covered in all of the regime media, is that it's an economic story. Yeah, it can be an economic story, that any American business should call their trading partner in Canada and Mexico and tell them, you don't want these tariffs put in place, then you call the leadership in your nation and you tell them to close the border and stop killing Americans. That's all that you have to do. And in terms of Canada, people are surprised by Canada. CBP numbers showed 19,000 people were arrested in the 2024 fiscal year for unlawful border crossings in Canada. at ports of entry, there were 358 terror suspects arrested. That is 7 times the number at our southern border. That's at ports of entry. Problem border in the north, problem border in the south.
I love that you mentioned the regime media. And they will no longer be the regime media because I hardly think that they will stand in line with the Trump regime. But here's what CNN said. I want to pull up this headline. Back when Trump levied or threatened to levy tariffs back in 2019, they had a panic attack. Listen to this, Emily. CNN's headline, 2019, Trump erupts over immigration, threatening Mexico with tariffs. It was an eruption. You know why he erupted? Well, now we have 2-year-olds coming to our southern border on their own, probably via cartels. Now we have innocent women murdered, but Trump just erupted over the border for no reason, according to CNN.
Right. Where's the eruption by the left on the human atrocities and the crimes against humanity happening at both borders and certainly at the southern border by the hands of the cartel with Mexico's blessing? That's the thing. When we were supposed to believe our current vice president and failed presidential candidate that she somehow had diplomatic chops to be able to go to Central and South America and somehow broker some type of relationship. The reality is, unless we have a totally collaborative partner, then you need to sometimes use a stick. And the notion that coming from the left, that there's some type of perfect, borderless global existence that does not exist without any type of utilization of tools is laughable to me, because the press can't have it both ways, and neither can the left. They argue that Trump is a nationalist, right, and that we'd have no use for other countries. But the reality is, this is what collaboration looks like, guys. The reality is that we do need Mexico and Canada's assistance and collaboration to stymie the flow of illicit drugs, of human trafficking, and of the odious impact of transnational narco cartels. A vice president that just mentioned those words but didn't actually go down and say, well, if this doesn't happen, here's what will. That's what she should have done 4 years ago. That's what Trump did 8 years ago, and that's what we're going to do again in a few months. And if you think that someone on the other side of the border is just going to shake our hand and say, oh, completely, you have all the resources at your disposal, that is the naivety. That is the academic petri dish, lack of logic, fantasy land that these guys live in, that the regime media used to further, but now have a wake-up call, because guess what? After this, it's going to work.
Dr. Siegel, something else that worked, it wasn't just Mexico enforcing border laws, putting those troops at the northern border. It was also this. One of the biggest bipartisan achievements of President Trump came because of tariffs. And here's Politico Playbook admitting it this morning. He did levy during his first term more targeted tariffs on China, and his threats against our North American neighbors made way for one of his bipartisan policy victories, the negotiation of NAFTA. And by that, they mean the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. The USMCA came after the heavy-handed threat of tariffs.
And notice how things have gone all the way backwards when he's been out of office. I like that he's focusing on Canada again. To Dagan's point, 19,000 arrests, that's tip of the iceberg, because there's hundreds of thousands not arrested that sneak in. And notice this, that 19,000 is more than the last 17 years combined. And we're talking everything from box turtles to gangs to terrorists to fentanyl. And I also like that he's once again, as before, putting China into this, because the precursors are coming from China to the cartels into the United States. And those precursors, by the way, medically, are not always easy to identify. Something like piperidine, you can hide that, and that's what they do. They're very, very clever, the way they get these precursors in there. So putting tariffs across the board on Mexico, Canada, and China, leveraging it on China as well, is a way of sending a message.
That's a fantastic reminder, Leslie. So, you know, this chemical comes from China, goes to Mexico. The cartels produce it, and here's what happens. This is a CBP notice that happened recently. The first incident here occurred on October 25th at the Calexico West Port of Entry. CBP officers encountered a 26-year-old male driving a red sedan. Here's what they found. A total of 44 packages concealed with the vehicle's fender and bumper. The contents of the packages were tested and identified as fentanyl with a total weight, listen to this, of 114 pounds. Enough fentanyl has flooded in to kill every man, woman, and child in this country multiple times over. This is why we do what we do, Leslie.
When you talk about North America, the United States and Canada and Mexico working together, and I would agree that we need to work together, it's in the best interest of our continent, with regard to drugs, with regard to crime, and certainly with regard to smuggling. I'm just not a big strong-arm person. I guess I'm kind of an old-school negotiating person.
How'd that work for Biden? How'd that work for Kamala?
Where you sit down at the table and you say, how is this going to be in the best interest of all three of our nations? One. Two, the concern is, at least from my side of the aisle, and honestly, Americans who aren't really, huge with politics, but they care about money, is if in 60 days this doesn't happen, you're talking about, according to the Peterson Policy for Economics, $2,600 per American household. That's a tough amount for people to chew. Two, when you look back at 2018 and the tariffs that were imposed during the Trump administration then on China, that did result in an $80 billion cost to the American consumer in the United States.
Biden kept many of those in place.
And what we look at, to me, is, like I said, I just don't believe in, hey, this is my first day in, I'm going to threaten you, this is how it's going to go. And let me tell you another thing. When we look at drugs, when we look at whether it's heroin, whether it's oxy, whether it is cocaine or crack, what happened, sadly? People started manufacturing it here. There's a reason when we go to stores that there are things like Sudafed that are locked up because people start making it on their own, border open or closed.
Well, we tried weak-kneed negotiation. We got millions of illegal immigrants, dead Americans, and fentanyl across our border. So let's try the heavy-handed approach. We'll see where we are. In 50 days, he takes over.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.